Hello, hello. Is this thing on? It always takes a moment before it seems to go. There's always like a slight little delay in the beginning, and that's why I always look like I'm whistling Dixie. Shut my face again. I always do that just in case, because just to see how I sound. People can hear me loud and clear, and it sounds like you can. So wonderful. Let's see the background. Check. Everything is check. See, here's the thing: you gotta make sure that things are just right when you're filming a Shaney Entertainy live stream, because the attention to detail is very important, guys. I mean, could you imagine filming an actual movie or long-awaited television climax, and not pay attention to the details? That'd be an absolute uh, travesty of biblical proportions. Hey, Nancy Henrique, how's it good? Thank you for letting me know that my mic sounds good. Guy Harrison, glad to see you're aboard once again. And thumbs up to you guys. And a big old wave. Yeah, I was going to do this earlier. It took a while for me to gather what I wanted to say on this matter. And the thing is, you hear what everybody says about it, and you kind of want to be different, right? Because you don't want to get out there and just say what everyone else is saying. You just don't want to go there and go, like just repeat what Mahler says or anybody else. You just go, what the hell movie? What the hell show? Just on every other thing. You kind of want to give it some thought. Take it in. Take a deep breath and say, okay, what's happening here? Is it salvageable? Is it good? Is it just like, there's also an emotional aspect to a lot of this stuff, because you that's sort of why I don't vent right away, because if I was to vent right away, I probably would say the most dumbest stuff, because it's all just emotion, and then you have to kind of rewatch a little bit and say, okay, I missed that, I missed this, I didn't, because I was so angry about this that I didn't exactly pay attention to when this happened. So usually I just take it in. I take a deep breath, I meditate, and then I say, all right, this is what I actually have to say about this episode. And after taking everything into consideration, guys, I mean, honestly, it was still bad. It was still bad. There's no salvaging this episode. To say was everything bad in this episode, I'm talking about Game of Thrones, guys. In case you didn't know, today I'm talking Game of Thrones. The long-awaited night that winter was coming, and we've been told was coming, and I think we all missed it. I mean, I know winter happened. I just don't remember what happened. I couldn't see it. It was just too dark. I couldn't see anything. I'm like, I know winter is happening here, but I'm hearing a lot of screams, seeing a lot of clangings of shields on metal. I'm seeing a lot of stuff that doesn't look very good, but I can't make it out. So I'm going to start from scratch, though, guys. The show does start off pretty solid. I will say this, except for I did question a few things right off the bat. And I mean, I haven't studied it, but I have looked at The Art of War in like casual, just looking through, and I've seen some documentaries on it, and and so I couldn't help but looking at all the strategy and just go, what exactly is happening? You guys have one of the most brilliant strategists, Tyrion Lannister, and you got a trebuchets on the outside of your wall, and you're shooting them, as your guys are running. How do you know you're not going to hit your own guys? I kept thinking, are you going to kill your own guys with your own trebuchets? I don't understand what's happening here. So let's look, if you don't know what I'm talking about right off the bat. So it was a 6 sort of sequence where you have, the army up front and the cavalry, and then they set the swords on fire, and that was a really sick ass scene. I really say, like, cinematically, that was beautiful, and I looked at it going, wow, this was something to behold. It was just like the way just the fire, the witch, I forgot her name, I don't care about names, just lit all the swords on fire, and I was just like, wow, that was a sick cinematically, that looked really, really amazing and impressive. And that's sort of what I want to get at here, because the problem that I find with a lot of directors is the problem that I'm having, like even The Last Jedi and going forward, is the problem that these guys have. It's the same thing. They look at cinematically what looks good, and they want to show, this is like, they have their head set, they're dead, on specific scenes. I want this scene to do like this, and I want this scene to look like this, and I want this emotional response to this, and I want, what I mean? They do all that before they even write. It seems like they don't even write anything, and they just have visuals in their head. Oh, and this visual, I need this visual, and I need this scene, and oh, this is going to be awesome. And they even mention that, the directors, I don't care their names either. They mentioned that when they were talking about the polar bear. We want that polar bear. I don't care how it's going to happen. We're just going to force a polar bear in here. And so they have all these sequences in their mind, and then they have to maneuver the narrative and shift and twist and mold things to navigate in ways that don't make sense, so that they can fit their whatever dramatic sequence or whatever they have going on, or message or political agenda or whatever the hell it is. They have that in their head, and they have to mold, twist, change, deform canon, what in any way they want to make that happen. And that's what I feel the biggest problem with this episode was. It's not that these people are probably didn't understand, proper military etiquette or proper military strategy. It was more about, they didn't care. It was just like, we want this, we want it to feel this way, we want it to sound this way, we want it to look this way, and we want this sequence to happen and this sequence to happen, and everything is going to be molded into that. It's like a stubborn, it's stubbornness on the behalf of because they don't care about the narrative. They just care about the visual. And that's, again, a huge issue with all of what's going on in Hollywood. It's not isolated to just this show. Rian Johnson did that exact same thing, where it's like, you had this to say and this to say and this to say, and he doesn't care whether he twists or molds or changes a character. He could do whatever he wants to do as long as he gets his point across. And that's just a side note, because I'm just saying that's what I'm finding is the biggest issue here with a lot of these directors, and it's kind of getting out of hand with that. And I'll give you a reason as to why that's happening more and more later on. But so that went down, and so they have now the cavalry's running with the fire lit. And here's again going back to just stupid decisions, and again, it looked cinematically beautiful. The cavalry running right to the empty void of darkness, because that's always a good strategy, guys. Do you see them coming? No. Do you even know if there's even a cliff over there? No. Did they set spikes halfway through? No, we can't see. All we see is darkness. So just run them. You don't see anything. Just run them. Just, okay, well, send your cavalry right for it. And here's the hilarious part is that, and I'll tell you why this is a huge problem later on, but they run and they all, you see, again, this looks so beautiful. The little sticks in the front, I always see like little matches of their swords flaming in the distance as they run to meet whatever unknown entity is out there. And from like our perspective, we're looking at this void and just lit swords in the distance, and that's all you see is black with fire swords lit, and then they just go out one at a time, within seconds, guys, within seconds. That sort of is annoying because, and I'll tell you like more after. I mean, I can go all over the place, but here's the thing: you have sequences where guys like Jon Snow are completely surrounded with White Walkers, and then he survives, fights most of them off, and you're telling me that this cavalry with horses and lit swords gets snuffed out in seconds, not minutes, literal seconds. It's just going out in seconds. Like, it looked nice, it was pretty, but when you're going like, what the heck just happened here? At the end, you're left with that feeling, that emotion. And I know the emotion he's trying to get. The director is trying to get that sort of kind of like, holy shit, this is imposing. This is something serious that's happening here. That sort of despair feeling that I think that's what he was going for. Which, yeah, I was very much in despair looking at that, going, oh shit, this is really something is huge. But when you then after that fact, you're just like, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. Why would they even do that? Why would they risk their entire cavalry on a void that they can't see? How are they being snuffed out in seconds? these are trained. Like, remember, this army was supposed to be one of the most powerful freaking armies, and yet they die in seconds to to a group of White Walkers that were like we're ganging up on solo knights and not being able to kill them. So this whole thing doesn't make sense. And one after the next, just for every positive visual that was out there, everything had to kind of be stupid to sort of allow it to happen. For this to happen, this had to be dumb. For these people had to be stupid. This person had to be dumb for this to happen. For this, everything that narratively, all the mistakes that were made, like, just seemed out of place, and not even like to their character. They wouldn't do those mistakes. They wouldn't make these mistakes. Tyrion should be on the damn tower organizing this. Like, if you say, like, the last episode, well, we need you down here because your brain is more important. If his brain is important, then how is his brain being put to use in the catacombs hiding? There is no. It's not like he has walkie-talkies where he could just, like, run the battlefield from under there. No, he's got to be visually see what's happening. At least be with her on the mountain when they were looking down on everybody. Tyrion's useless. His strategy is useless. His brain is useless in the catacombs hiding. It doesn't need, like, there's so much that just you get there and you're just like, why? The whole time I'm just asking why. Why did they do it? Why? The question why spit out of my mouth so many times during that show. It was just like even my wife was just like, shh, I'm trying to watch this. Be quiet. Stop ranting. I'm just like, no, I can't. What's going on? I'm like, my Seinfeld's coming out. Why? I don't understand. Now it's Grandpa Simpson. It's so annoying. You're watching this going, this doesn't make any sense, man. None of it does. And not to mention the shots are just too dark. You can't see what's going on. I thought it was my television at first. I'm like, is something wrong with my TV? Because I can't see a thing. I was like, no way, they couldn't have shot it this bad, but apparently they did. And I actually thought it was me. I thought it was my TV at first that was just really poorly lit, or just really dark. I was like, thought there was something wrong with it, but then everyone else was complaining about the same thing. So I'm like, all right, it wasn't just me. I guess everybody was complaining about that exact same problem. The dragons were cool. Looking at them and flying them, they're always, anytime you got dragons flying around and blowing fire and things, it's cool. But again, you keep questioning, why didn't they send the dragons first? You send the dragons first to sort of light the way, at the very least to light the way, to see what the heck is happening and what you're up against. But no, they send the dragons late. They don't use the dragons as like with any sort of efficiency at all. There was that dragon sequence where they're fighting, and then the Night King falls off. Again, they say, well, why didn't he die? I'm not even saying why he didn't die. He's probably dead anyway. So you throw a zombie off of a roof, he's not going to die. But at the very least, have a scene where he, like, is all mangled and maybe just fixes himself because he's, at least have that. So at least it looks like, oh, whoa, this guy's not going down too easy. I say that foreshadowingly. And then you just have like sequences where it looks like everybody is just like Jamie is cornered. Everybody's cornered, like all these big names guys, they're all cornered, look like they're gonna die, and then all of a sudden they cut to another screen, they cut to another scene, and then so we're just left going, did he die? He must have died. But then they come back and then there's okay again. It doesn't make any sense. Hey, Toriel G. Hi, everyone. Name change back to the original. Oh, yeah, Toriel. Yeah, it's hard to change your name, by the way. I changed my name to Shani Entertaining a long time ago from my original name, and it took a while. People didn't know what the heck who I was. It's always hard to change your name on YouTube. It's like changing your brand midway through. But yeah, so that was just so much stuff is just like I keep questioning. And these are things that, like, the visuals are always so much more important in these movies than the actual story and plot. It's getting out of hand now to the point where it's almost epidemic, and that's why we don't see. That's why you take a look at something that that was both visually amazing and well written. I mean, there's always going to be plot holes when you have a cast and a situation so big, but you try to mitigate those and try to do the best you can. And I'm talking about Endgame, and even even better than Endgame was the Infinity War. Like, there are issues with it, but there's but the as long as the meat and potatoes, the major deal of the premise is still good, and you got those things intact, certain little things shouldn't matter too much. And this one didn't play that. This one took the little things and said, we need to make these things important, and the meat and potatoes of it, it's all irrelevant. And there's just, like I said, there's just one mistake after the next. It just became to the point where you have to excuse far too much to let go. And I know some people are like, oh, I liked it. It was fun. It was good. I mean, I guess it's your prerogative. But I mean, when there's so many little things that are just so wrong, you're really stretching. You got to really stretch. I mean, and especially if the narrative you like happens at the end. If this is a narrative you like, and I'm not going to spoil, I'll spoil it right now, guys. So you know, spoiler coming out soon. The Night King gets killed by Arya, not Jon Snow. And which was one of those things that really bothered me. Because it had nothing to necessarily do with the fact that Arya, doesn't get the kill. It's just the fact that it's not her story. She's had her own story arc. And that's the thing. You're taking liberties with actual set up things that were set up in the past, and then you just change it for arbitrary reasons just so that it looks or feels cool. Like, oh, no one's going to expect this. Like, so what? No one expects it. That doesn't make it good just because no one expects something. No one would expect, I don't know, no one would expect Peter Dinklage to kill him either. So does that make it better just because Peter Dinklage came out of the blue? Just okay, take Arya out of it and then put Peter Dinklage in it and just see how cool would it have been if Peter Dinklage jumped up out of nowhere, with a knife and just tried to stab him, and he grabs Peter Dinklage by the throat and then he just stabs him in the. Would that have been just as cool if it, or is it only cool because it's Arya? You know what I mean? Peter Dinklage isn't cool anymore. It's not cool if it's him. It's just as surprising, but it's also just as ridiculous because neither one, that's part of their story arc. And when you're narratively creating a story, because that's what this is. This isn't reality, guys. This isn't a reality where everything could just happen. This is a written story where it's a story arc and characters that are set up and things that are supposed to make sense in a story, right? You don't say go watch the story of the three pigs and Big Bad Wolf, and then the wolf blows on the houses, and then suddenly, out of left field, Arya comes out of the thing and stabs the wolf. Doesn't make sense narratively. It's just some random thing that happens. And Arya has her own story arc, and that is she's got a list of people that wronged her that she wants to kill. And then not on that list, I don't think, was the Night King. So, it was just done for the sake of random, and possible girl power, because I'm not going to, everything is girl power now. Hey, Guy Harrison, don't spoil three little, yeah, don't spoil the little three pigs. Sorry, guys. I didn't mean to spoil the three little pigs. Well, I didn't really spoil it because I just said an alternate ending that happened. That didn't happen. Arya was not in the little pigs, guys. Just so you know. Although maybe she should have been. She should have been in the three little pigs. Yeah, it's just random. It's so, yeah. Phew. Yeah, I know. Right, guy. It's just so like random that, and that's even what they said. Well, we tried to think about who would make the most sense and who would be least expected. And it's like that. I was always told when I was in writing school, when writing, in classes, when it came to creative writing or anything like that, is especially when it comes to actual writing screenplays, is you give the audience what they want, but not how they expect. That's how you make your audience happy. You give them what they want, but not how they expect it. Everybody wants Jon Snow to kill the king. That was it. It was built up, just like Iron Man versus Thanos was built up, right? Any of the three, whether it be Iron Man, Captain America, or Thor, would have been fine, to get the kill. It was just as ridiculous. It was just as ridiculous to see Captain Marvel do it because Captain Marvel didn't earn it. She didn't earn it. She's just a latecomer. She hasn't earned it, and that's why. And Arya doesn't earn this. She's a latecomer. She didn't even know what the White Walkers has. Never felt. She's never faced one down. She doesn't. You know what I mean? Did she even know what it looked like to even find it? You know, the Night King. And not to mention what's his face. That's another one because other than Jon Snow, the only other cast member who I thought, or the only character who I think should have at least gotten part of the kill was what's his name? I always forget that dude's name. The guy, the kid in the wheelchair. I forgot his name, and I really don't care. Again, I don't care about his name. I forget names really bad. Yeah, the kid in the wheelchair, the guy with the crow. You know, it was built up that he has this connection with the Night King, and that the Night King was going to seek him out. And the whole point is, why is the Night King seeking him out? Because you can see through Crow's eyes. I mean, I kept waiting for something. Like, I know he could possess things. He possessed his own friends. He possesses wolves. And I thought, like, okay, is it possible that maybe he could possess, other, Night Walkers, White Walkers? And then I'm like, at least if he could possess other White Walkers, then he's actual threat. He's an actual threat. And I thought that I kept waiting for that to happen. I'm like, maybe he could possess White Walkers in the same way that he can. Like, how he can manipulate and raise the dead. Maybe if he could actually manipulate half the army with his actual mind, or at least part of his army with his mind, that makes him an actual threat and worth the king actually, and not only worth the king, the Night King actually going to confront him, because you can't send an army to confront him because your army will get possessed by him. So therefore, you have this now narrative in which, he actually has a relevant reason for why he's dangerous to him. Otherwise, being a peeping Tom through crows is not good enough for him to get off a guy who's literally, if he's the ex machina, if you kill him, the whole army is gone. So there has to be at least something worthy enough for him to do that, other than just because the story said so. This didn't feel. I kept thinking, if he could at least possess the White Walkers and have his own army fighting against himself, and only he could kill him, because none of the other White Walkers could get close to that kid, then that was a reason for why he could do it. And if he can't get possessed, is there equal strength in the mind? That would be something. And I thought, how cool would it have been? I kept waiting. I don't know why I kept waiting for this, but it's like, my theories suck. Thank you, Rian Johnson. So you have the White Walkers who are surrounding him, and the Night King surrounding him, going up to him, and all of a sudden, I was going to see, it would be awesome if his own men started to attack the Night King. Now the Night King had to fight his own men, which would have given time for Jon Snow to get there. I was hoping for that, and I know that's my own stupidity, because I shouldn't have theories. I should just let them go, because then I get nana nana boo boo from Rian Johnson online. But yeah, that, and then, or even Arya, anybody, but at least have that be part of it, because then at least we know he had something relevant to do with the story. The way it happens, he has nothing relevant to do. If he was left alone, he would have just beheaded him, and it would have been it. Nothing interesting. He's just all this build up, all this real, riddly talk that he does. He's going to come after me. Why? Why is he coming after you? Do you have something on him? Do you have his porn? Do you have access to his porn? You're gonna release it to the cops? What's going on here? What exactly does it come? What is he coming to you for? It doesn't make any sense. So that was another big disappointment for me on that level. And Arya getting the kill again was it's narratively stupid. And then people say, oh, it was cool. Was it cool? No. Again, did you see the scenes that they had behind the scenes of how they shot that sequence? She's literally jumping off a platform to get that height. Like, again, why would you do that? It doesn't even make sense to where her location is and what's going on. She just suddenly leaps out of the air. Like, why? Because cinematically it looks cool. See what I mean? Forget the narrative. Forget what makes sense. Forget anything, because it has to look cool. So the whole shot of Arya coming from behind, that they see her coming down on her, this little girl who probably can't jump that high, definitely, you had to build a platform for her to jump from with wires, because they had her strapped to wires, and when she jumped, they hung her in the air. She's not Jordan. There was no scene ever from here to there would prove that she was Jordan or had this ability, the ability to jump like Mike. You know, I'm sorry, but that doesn't make any sense. So now, how did she get that damn height? Guy Harrison, from what I understand, the reason, at least, is made up beyond the original writer of the book's vision, and there is or was a lawsuit. Oh, so you mean George R.R. Martin is suing? Is that what's going on? Because I don't know. Is that what you're trying to say? The original writer of the book's visions, yeah, George R.R. Martin. So he's suing. Is that am I understanding that incorrectly? If he is, he definitely should, because like, what is this shit? This is definitely written like a hack job. I mean, and even if you wanted her to kill the Night King, do it far better than that. Like, do something. Yeah, well, he had to, because the books haven't been written yet, right? And didn't he give them permission to write on his behalf, or didn't he have to have final say or something? I don't know. I knew that George R.R. Martin, I know he had to be consulted on these matters of the book. So I don't know, maybe he wasn't consulted, but that's just pretty bad. It's fuzzy. What's fuzzy? My picture? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, it just, for me, it just seems like, again, it just seems like more of the same stuff we keep seeing throughout Hollywood. Directors, and I've said this before. Was this a good, like, could you say this was a good episode? You know, it all depends on what you want out of an episode. And see, that's the thing too. Like, a lot of people who aren't really, hey, Mr. Record, how you doing? Welcome to my live stream. You know, like, well, there's a group of people that just like spectacle, and they don't care. And I'm one of those, to be honest with you. When it comes to certain movies, I'll like forego story and things that make sense just to lose my mind. Like, when it comes to monster movies, I've said this many times. Godzilla, I'm not looking for story. I just want to see stupid monsters fighting. I don't care. I don't care if she was, the character development. I don't care about character development in a Godzilla movie. The only character I want to see is Godzilla and some badass monsters hooking up and fighting. I don't care about any of the other characters, because it's just taken away from Godzilla fights. And that's why, when it comes to monster movies of that nature, and that sort of, and action movies that are just dumb, understandably stupid action movies that we just go there to get entertained from, and then that's fine. I don't mind that. That's okay narratively. But these are more cerebral kind of shows that gives you more of an experience, and it's a different type of thing. So you expect more. Your level of expectation is high. So when you're talking about spectacle, a lot of people just want the spectacle, and there's nothing wrong with that. Hey, Death by Saber, how's it going, bud? People who just want the spectacle, it's fair. If that's all you're looking for, and you just want to see cool sequences, cool shots, and you know, and that's fine, I guess. But I mean, I think this show was not written as just spectacle. This show or books were written as supposed to be thought-provoking, a little more engaging, and like that. So I feel like the fact that they figured out that the directors thought that the spectacle took precedent over the proper narrative and storytelling and good actual writing and good actual, like, you know, smart war, as opposed to a dumb war. Like, who the hell sends their army outside the wall? The whole reason you have a wall is to protect. It's all your best archers and stuff should be on top of the wall, making sure that they can't get up the damn wall. And you put a moat, you put fire around it, you do whatever you can to build so that the walkers can't get to the wall. And then once they get to the wall, you better well make sure that they can't get in. And then you have strategically, they should have been, instead of that whole sequence the night before where they just talked and got drunk. That whole time I kept thinking that. I swear to God, I thought this. Maybe they should have spent less time drinking and talking shit, and we're going to die tomorrow, like all that stuff, and bestowing knighthoods on people. Maybe that night they should have spent strategizing and actually planning out the war so that we know what the hell is going on. And cinematically, visually, like I said, it was far too dark to see what was happening, and a lot of stuff you couldn't really appreciate. And a lot of ex machinas. Oh, there was ex machina that happened after, like, there was that sequence where Jon Snow again is after the Night King falls, and Jon Snow is like ready to take him on. And you can't even tell. It looks like he's closer than he is. You know, Night Walker might be closer than he appears. He's actually further than he appears. And so you see him charging at him like with full speed. And there's that one sequence, it looks like he's almost caught up. And then the next sequence, you see him raise the dead and he's way far away again. It's like, is the ground moving? Is there an escalator ground that is pulling him away? I don't understand this. How is it in one shot he looks close to you, and the next shot he looks far away again? That's what I mean, how badly some of this stuff was shot, because you never understood the space around. You could never get a grasp of, you know, the surroundings, what's happening in the surroundings, and how far people are to each other, and that sort of thing. You know, he's surrounded by nothing but White Walkers, and then all of a sudden he looks like he's gone, and then Ex Machina, the dragon, and, you know, what's her face, flaming and rescuing him last second, only to have her sit there on her dragon, the Khaleesi, sit there on her dragon, staring into space, going, does my dragon fly? Yes, it flies. Why aren't you flying? Does your dragon breathe fire? Yes, it breathes fire. Why aren't you doing any of these things that your dragon should be doing in this war? It's just sitting there with her finger in her nose, watching nothing, and then her dragon's getting completely, she gets swarmed by White Walkers and thrown off, and now she's about to die, and then Ex Machina, what's his face, comes out of nowhere and starts saving her life, and then he gets killed. It's like Ex Machina after Ex Machina after Ex Machina. It's just, and then when they have to cut away right before things are about to happen, is because you don't have a conclusion to this. We don't know how this is supposed to end. So instead of just having a conclusion to this sequence and this scene, let's just cut away from it. And then we cut back. Magically, things are just okay. Every scene, there was a character that was about to die, looked completely swarmed, and instead of resolving how he got out of it, other than Ex Machinas, they just cut away. And then when they cut back, he's just fine, or she's just fine. And it just, so much that was just so bad. And people just expect better from this show. And I think some people who may not have been following this show for years, or just want to like accept it for what it is. And that's fine if you do. But I think we've come to expect more of the writing of the show. And I think that's also lends to the disappointment, is just our level of expectation was here, you know, and this show was just below. It's just more of the same kind of stuff that we are getting from Hollywood now. And it's just to the point where I just don't even care about anything anymore. You're like, the Russo brothers did such a good job with their, and again, there's people who are criticize what they did with Thor and criticize other things, but the meat and potatoes of those things I still think were pretty good. Again, Infinity War was far better, in my opinion, than the Endgame one, but it still was a really good ending, and they gave you, at least the crucial moments were done properly. We can argue about the other stuff, but the crucial moments were done properly in that movie. This thing was neither were done properly. It was all in service of the vision of the director. The director had this scene in mind. Let's change and alter and make people act in ways they wouldn't. Let's make strategies that don't make any sense just for visual, you know, payoffs that you know, sometimes, like, it looked awesome, those visuals. And it did make you feel like, I'm pretty sure, what he wanted me to feel. But then after that, you're left with, there's got to be something after. You can't just say, oh, I want this, and it sits there in a void. There's more to it. This episode doesn't end after that. There's more to it. And then we're left with, why would you do that? Why aren't you doing this? Why are your trebuchets only shooting once or twice and never shot again? Why is no one defending the trebuchets? Why aren't they behind the damn wall? Why didn't you build multiple rings of fire around the thing? Why isn't the witch who could produce fire not producing? Why isn't she setting the White Walkers on fire? She can set. What's the difference between wood and White Walkers? Why can't she just set them on fire? Put her on a dragon and hover above, setting them on fire. It didn't make any sense. Why does dragon glass work, but dragon fire doesn't work? So if that's another scene that was just so stupid. Arya, uh, what's her face? Queen, what's her face? She, the dragon lady. she's on the dragon, and she blows fire on the Night King, and the Night King stands there like this, like the whole time, like yeah, that's not gonna work. And I kept thinking, why does dragon fire not work, but yet swords and glass made of dragon fire does work? Dragon fire is dragon fire. You'd think that the source would be far more potent than than what you're making out of it. It's like, so the dragon fire doesn't work on him, but stabby with a knife that's made from his fire somehow works. I don't know, Valerian steel or whatever it's called. It didn't make it. Just, again, narratively, you just had to have that sequence. We have to have that scene that doesn't make sense just so that we can have that scene. We're going to write a scene where he just stands there and takes that fire and it's like, oh, fire dragon fire doesn't work. But why doesn't it work? Do you not think farther than that scene? Just why would the weapons made from that dragon work, but the dragon's actual weapon doesn't work? And so much of that was going on in that episode, and it's just sort of tiresome. At the end of the day, you just sort of left with a hollow emptiness, because the payoff that you were waiting for, which is Jon Snow, that's his demon. You know what I mean? His whole purpose was, and anybody who was guarding that wall, that was what they dedicated their lives to. Listen, for people who want to defend Arya and how cool it was, just think about this. These people, from the beginning of the show, the answer is magic. Woohoo, magic. Yeah, well, magic seems to work sometimes and not other times in this for some reason. It's very inconsistent. So you have these guys who've dedicated their whole lives. They can't have sex. They can't mate. They can't have relationships. Their entire life is dedicated to guarding the wall. And what are they guarding the wall from? They're guarding the wall from the Night King and the possible winter is coming thing, right? That's what they dedicated their lives to. And so that is their purpose. Somebody that was guarding that wall, whether it be Jon Snow or anybody else, deserves that kill. Now we say, well, this is the harsh reality of life, and not everything happens magically in the way that the world works. And I'm like, yes, okay, but that's, again, goes back to why we watch shows, because we know reality sucks. That's why escapism is into these things. Because we're looking for the magical ending. We're looking for the, give us what we want, but not how we expect kind of moment. And that's why when you see Arya, whose whole storyline was she wants revenge for what happened to her family. And so that's her arc, and she's entitled to do it and to succeed or fail, but try. In either way, you die trying, right? And for Jon Snow to not even get close enough to the Night King, to even smell what he had for dinner is a disaster. It's a travesty. Nobody who guarded the wall was there at the end. Nobody tried and failed. This was their whole life. And that's why when you actually get the actual stabbing by Arya, it feels so empty. You're like, oh, that was what? Why her? You could have picked anybody, but they picked her. Yeah, that's the thing. You have the set. It's like a joke. You have a joke. You write the setup of the joke, and then there's the punchline, right? Without it's like setting up a joke and then not giving a punchline. Knock on, it doesn't make any sense. Knock knock, who's there? Banana who? Knock knock, who's there? Banana who? And then all of a sudden you say elephant with trunks on. What the hell does that mean? You didn't expect that. No, I didn't, because it's stupid. It doesn't make sense. There's a build up to that joke. It's orange. Aren't you glad I didn't say banana? See the build up and the payoff? There's no build up. There's no payoff. The build up is the build up. You need the payoff. Without the payoff, you're left empty. And then they want to know, why were people left empty? Because she's a woman? It's the fail safe for whenever something shit happens narratively. And it's always, because it's a girl doing something badass. No, she'll have her badass moment. Give it to her. She deserves one. Everybody deserves their badass moment in this, but her badass moment isn't this. And now she's going to get this plus kills Cersei, right? Who's going to kill Cersei? Well, it better be one of the Lannisters. I think that's the only payoff there for her. It has to be Tyrion. But the way this show is going, Tyrion or Jaime, the way this show is going, it's not going to be. It's going to be some random person that has no affiliation with her at all. It's just, it just leaves you going, the people who are in charge of this, the writing is just gone now. Like, writing is a dead art. It's all gone to spectacle. And spectacle, well, it's supposed to enhance the story. Spectacle done properly makes for one of the greatest experiences you can possibly have in a movie theater. And when you don't have the two working in conjunction, you're left empty one way or the other. If the effects are fake and crappy and nobody could see it and it's garbage, even though the story is good, sometimes you can get away with that. But that tends to, oh yeah, it looks like a B movie. But then when you have good acting, good directing, good storytelling, and good effects all working in conjunction, you get something really awesome. And more often than not, that's not the case. I mean, I keep going back to the Avengers Infinity War more than anything else. That to me was the perfect example of everything in conjunction to make an amazing, awesome spectacle. And it's very rare that you see that now. And now it's all gone. It's all like, I don't really don't look forward to anything anymore because of that. Like, I can't look forward to anything, and it's like whatever. I'm just like washing my hands. And then, not to mention the girl power moments again. It's like everything you always have to and I want to reiterate this, because I think most people who are intelligent speaking or intelligent, who can actually formulate a thought and can understand what people are talking about, it's not that we don't appreciate women or don't want to see women succeed or don't want to see women in these things or have their own moments. It's just that when you always have to prop up the female and lower the guy, or when you always have to have this in order to make girl power happen, the guys always have to take the hit. You're not really giving a girl power. You're just reducing the competition. That's not girl power. It's actually the reverse. It's pandering, and it's not even pandering properly. It's just bad for everybody involved. Men look stupid and girls look stupid by comparison. It's all bad. You elevate the guy and you elevate the girl. Now they're neck and neck. Now we got something that they both sort of, even if she is higher than him, as long as he's still acting in his nature and being awesome, and then she's being just more awesome because that's just how she was written, and its story, and the story is actually feasible and makes sense, then it's awesomely written and it's good. But when you always have to shoot guys in the leg so that the girl could run the marathon, you're left. You're going to cheer that? You're going to go at the end and cheer? Well, all the guys, we're going to run against all the guys. See, we could run against all the guys in this marathon, and then you just snipe the guy's legs before they shoot the gun to run the marathon, and then all the guys are limping to the thing, falling down like fools, and all the women are just, woo, look, girl power. That's what's happening. That's exactly what's happening. And I don't see how you can take pride in that. How you take pride that you've shot the legs of all the guys and look how wonderful we are. That's not. In order for Arya to succeed, Jon Snow had to look stupid. In order for everything to happen, all the guys had to look stupid. It's just, you can't make. That's not good writing, and that's not. I don't think that's something you should be celebrating or cheering. You can't shoot women. No, you can't even punch them. Like, geez, it's like that scene in Endgame where. Again, spoiler alert, guys. Where just like Captain Marvel comes down and just Thanos headbutts her, and they couldn't even make her head move even a little. Not even a little. Not even like with a dead face, like that didn't hurt. Just it's just, he legitimately hit concrete and just bing. It's like, if she's that strong, why didn't she just take him out right there? If he couldn't even budge her. What the hell? It doesn't even make sense at that point. That was to me one of the really, really horrible moments of that movie. So anyway, that's my whole. I'm gonna give you my whole interpretation of this. Do I care going forward what happens in Lord of the Rings? Game of Thrones. I care enough because I've invested too much time in it to not know what happens. But am I going to look forward to it? Am I going to sit there if I miss it and go, oh darn, I missed it? No, I don't, because in the end, I feel like there's no. I feel like you're going to get let down one way or the other, and at this point, that's what we should expect. We should just expect to be let down. And I hate the feeling. I hate to say this, but when you're going into something just because you want to see the end of it, and you're not going in with any anticipation or hope of saying, well, I invested all this, I guess I might as well see it to the end. You're doing it now because you're sort of forced to, because narratively it's just like an itch you have to scratch, but it's not doing it because you really want to anymore. And that's pretty much what I think is going to happen for a lot of us, and me included. It's an itch that I have to scratch, but it's not something that I look forward to. And so if I'm going to watch them, it's just going to be out of curiosity to see what goes on and what happens after that. But I will tell you, going forward, these guys are writing the Mandalorian. I was kind of looking forward to that, and now I don't think I'm going to bother. I'm just not going to. Mandalorian still belongs to Disney. They're still doing whatever the hell they want with Lucasfilm. They still have guys like Rian Johnson trolling people. And these guys who wrote this are now in charge of The Mandalorian. And I was going to try The Mandalorian, but now I'm just not going to bother. Why am I going to get invested if I'm just going to get let down? And I'm not in the mood to get let down anymore. Not going to do it. And I just, there's no sense in it. There's no sense in it. There's no payoff for me. It's just, it's just rather go home and play video games. Better than play video games. Play the video game of Game of Thrones. Play the Mandalorian video game. Maybe that'll be better. Just don't play. What do you call it? That video game that everybody's talking about, Mortal Kombat. Just don't play that. I don't know. Although I hear people say it's pretty good, but I don't know. And also, next on the agenda, I don't know if you guys want to talk about this. For people who are still here, do you guys want to talk about this? I brought it up on the thing because I heard about this. I'm not sure how legitimate this is. I'm going to talk Star Wars now. So basically, I'm done with Game of Thrones. You've seen what I have to say about it. It was a shit episode, and I don't look forward to what's going on. So now Star Wars, the spoilers that I heard. Maybe I should just make another video based on this. Maybe I will. I'll just touch upon it then. You guys, because that's sort of something that I kind of heard, and I'm not sure if it's true. So what I'm going to talk about is episode 4 and the interesting sort of spoiler hack. I don't know if it's or theory. I'm not sure what it is at this point. So I'm going to say what it is. I'm just going to do a quick point form of what it is. In 4, 3, 2, 1. I don't even know who it came. I think I heard it from Doomcock, and he said that it was from a source that he trusts. So if you guys want to watch his video about the whole thing, go ahead on that. Just do it right now. Do it a little after. And basically it made me really kind of think about this, because I'm like, on one hand, I was like, do you guys know what I'm talking about, first of all? Because what it is basically has to do with the Emperor Palpatine and the laugh and the explanation for what that is. And basically so basically, if this is a real spoiler, guys, and don't want to know about it, then walk away and don't turn around. But I'm going to say what it is right now. So 4, 3, 2, 1, blast off. So basically, from what it was supposed to be, what it sounds like is that Emperor Palpatine is in this movie, and that Emperor, hey Snoke, how's it going, bud? Emperor Palpatine, his ghost is going to possess somebody, and that he's going to take over the army with his, being like possessed. He's powerful, whatever. Kylo Ren and Rey challenge him, go to kill Palpatine, and then Palpatine, the guy who sort of the character, he was possessed by his ghost, and then after they kill the body of the character he possesses, he then goes into the body of Kylo Ren, and Kylo Ren and Rey now have to face each other. In I don't know. That's sort of the gist of it. Um, again, I'm like, parts of me is like, not parts of me, all of me is just like, why even bother with Palpatine? It's like, you see, because J.J. Abrams understands, and this is the funny part. You're seeing how J.J. Abrams kind of understands how Rian Johnson screwed up, because he's like, you killed Snoke. Kylo Ren is kind of a loser. How do you have what is the, what is the Thanos of this universe? Who's there to look forward to fighting? So now you have to manufacture some last minute reason for for there to be some kind of conflict, and then you add, what's his name, you add Palpatine, and now Palpatine is like almost like an ex machina bad guy, because we need something. And so, nostalgia purposes, let's bring the old fans. It's almost corporate thinking, and it's so horrible, because you can, and I believe this, because this reeks of corporate thinking. This reeks of sitting around a table to say, how do we bring the old and the new? How do we bring these two people together again and liking our movie? We have to bring, nostalgia always works. And that's the thing. Nostalgia tends to always work in these situations. So I don't know. I'm just going to sort of leave it at that, because it's just like, it's to me, I'm looking at it going, the more and more I realize, the more it just seems like corporate nonsense again, and no real direction or story. It's just it's making me feel again like more of this nonsense that we're seeing with the writing. It's just make shit up as you go along. Let's not have any plan for anything. Let's doing it for reasons more to pander to this character or this group and this group, and the movie's just going to be one gigantic mess. And I just, that's what I feel about it. Although I do understand what, and it's funny because I was thinking about it, and I'm like, yeah, that's kind of an obvious thing that J.J. Abrams sort of has to go to do now. Like, J.J. Abrams has to go to those lengths to being a villain. You can't make a whole new villain in that time that's relevant. So you have to go to an old villain, and you can't go to Darth Vader. So you have to do the next best thing, which I think Darth Plagueis would be pretty awesome if they brought him in, somebody that we've at least discussed, someone that hasn't had a story arc yet that we know. But why they don't do Darth Plagueis, I have no clue. Maybe because it doesn't have the nostalgia factor that Palpatine has. So whatever. But then the whole nonsense of possessing Kylo Ren, and now he's got to fight the demons in himself. I mean, let's be honest. Kylo Ren is evil. Let's just stop trying to make him a good guy. He is evil. And that's another thing, too. They don't realize how bad that makes Luke look to make Kylo Ren still good. Because if Kylo Ren still has an ounce of good in him, then Luke Skywalker brandishing the lightsaber because he sensed nothing but evil in him, it just makes Luke Skywalker so much worse. Because didn't you see any good in this kid? If you didn't see any good in him, why would you? The only justification for him to brandish a lightsaber is that he sensed the future, and the future was this kid was going to destroy and kill and be evil incarnate. And that's the only, not even a good enough reason, but it's the only reason that Luke Skywalker should ever brandish a lightsaber in contemplation of murdering in his sleep his own nephew. But to give an ounce of humanity and goodness into Kylo Ren means that Luke Skywalker, one of the greatest Jedis to ever live, wasn't strong enough, or didn't have enough strength in the Force to actually sense the good in this kid. You see how bad that is to Luke? And that's why I can't go to this damn freaking this movie. I can't do it, because I've always said, Luke, the destruction of Luke was the number one problem I had with this movie. And not that was the only problem I had with this movie, but it was my personal number one. Other people have their own number ones. Other people have their own issues. My number one issue was what they did to Luke Skywalker. It was unnecessary, and again, it's only did to serve the narrative Rian Johnson wanted to tell. And the turning Luke Skywalker into Schmeagol and turning him into this person who's capable of massacring, even after he tried to save his own dad, his father, who committed genocide, for heaven's sakes, but still saw the goodness in him and tried to save him. What does that say for how evil Kylo Ren is, if he can't even sense the good in this kid? And now having this whole sequence where Kylo Ren tries to fight Palpatine, if this is the case, because or even what he does to Snoke, these little slight ounces of good in him make everything that Luke did just even that much worse. Snoke Spinal Tap says, I theorized Palpatine transfer his essence into this body and canceled it. Snoke years ago. Just Snoke knowing how Vader betrayed Palpatine made me think that. Just knowing Snoke or Vader betraying Palpatine made me think that. Yeah, exactly. It goes down to they're trying to recreate the ending of the last of not the Last Jedi. They're recreating the end of what do you call it? The Return of the Jedi, because you're trying to have this moment where Rey's going to be pretty much. I don't think Rey's going to get the kill shot. I think Rey's going to be, allow Kylo Ren to get the kill shot, probably kill himself if he gets possessed, which shows he was good all along and he had an ounce of good in him. And again, it just comes down to that whole thing where whatever you set, whatever you change, whatever you need to manipulate, whatever you have to alter to get your narrative to make sense, that's what we're left with now. That's what is going on. And I've said this before in my last video. I don't necessarily blame the directors for this. I blame the studios more for this, because the studios are not allowing these directors their own voice in Hollywood. They're not making new stuff and new characters so that they could build from scratch their own universe. Then they don't have to change and alter someone else's to get their vision across. You have a bunch of these new directors that are trying desperately to get their voices heard. And they don't have, and all they have or are being allowed to do is stuff that other people did first. And so they don't even appreciate the other stuff because the other stuff wasn't their generation, so they didn't really have the attachment to it. So they don't care. All they can see is, I want this vision, and I have this vision, and I have this vision. And if I show my good stuff, if I show what I'm capable of, they're going to give me my own movie and my own thing. But again, the studios don't appreciate anything new. They don't really want to fund anything that doesn't already have a built-up audience. It's got to be a book. It has to be a miniseries. It has to be a cartoon. It has to be a toy. It has to be a video game in order for them to actually put money into something, because heaven forbid people just come up with something creative and new. Snoke's mother. When Snoke first speaks to Kylo in The Force Awakens, he speaks about Vader betraying his master. Snoke knows too much. Yeah, but we don't. That's the funny part, is all that stuff that happened, and it's like everything's so retconned and changed. Who knows what anything is? There's a lot of stuff that was set up that just got dropped. So and now we're gonna pick things back up. So I know what you're saying. It's just like it's just so convoluted and all over the place now. And now we just got to pick from what we think is the past and what is going to be taken and what isn't, because we don't know anymore. Everything got dropped. Things got let go. We knew what parent we thought we knew who Rey's parents were. Now we still don't know who Rey's parents are. They're going to probably retcon that eventually, which when you really analyze it and look into, you can't really retcon it, because the minute like Rey's parents, we go, oh, Kylo Ren was lying about her parents. Her parents are actually this. And you can't retcon it because of this one line from The Last Jedi. Look inside you, Rey. You know this to be true. And and you could see that she does. And in that moment where she accepts that she knows it to be true and cries, because that's what it was about, was that, yes, she knew and understood that what Kylo Ren was saying was the truth. So now, to make anybody else her father or her, goes against that moment. And again, now we're just retconning and changing things you go along. And so now nothing has value and nothing matters, because anything and everything could change. And it's just a big mess. Tori LG, tomorrow, everyone, May the 4th be with you. We get the OT and the prequels never forgotten. Yep. May the 4th be with you guys. And also, I'm going to throw my, my condolences to the family of Peter Mayhew, the people who were touched by him. I was never I didn't really know much about Peter Mayhew other than what he did with Chewbacca. But the Star Wars universe is losing somebody great, and so my condolences there, guys, to the family. Just putting that out there, guys. Just because got to pay your respects. For sadness. Yeah, it's just I just feel like we really should start. We really, as I think at this stage, as a fandom, like we talked about this whole anti Lucasfilm fandom that we're doing, this rebellion we're sort of having here. I think we got to change the focus. I think we're putting it on Lucasfilm and we're putting it on specific people, and I think the movie industry in general, we really have to start targeting, because we have to allow directors and producers the freedom to work on the shit they want. Sorry, I know I'm swearing, and I swore I wouldn't swear, but here I'm swearing. We have to allow them to give them their creative freedom to see what they can do. Like, I look at the Russo brothers, I look at the Russo brothers, I look at the Russo brothers, and I think to myself, how amazing! What could they do without Disney? Without Mickey Mouse lingering over them, telling them, you gotta make sure that you got this going on, and every 2 minutes you gotta put a joke, and there's the formula. If you gotta make this formula work, and this is what you gotta do, or I've gotta put this in here and this there and this. How would the Russo brothers? What could they direct if they had their own movie to direct? They're now under contract, but I want to see them make something new. You got a Wachowski brothers that came out with The Matrix. You're not getting those movies anymore. You're not getting those amazing, George Lucas came out with Star Wars. You're not getting a new Star Wars anymore. Everything has to come from something else. Okay. All right, Toriel, thanks for coming. I'm glad you showed up. Go eat your dinner. Actually, I got to start making my dinner as well. So I'll wrap up shortly anyway, after I get this last point out, which is the same point I've been saying. We got to start forcing. We got to really start forcing. Forcing. You can't force. The only way you can force, and no amount of screaming, by the way, and anger and angry videos are going to change this. No amount of boycott or argument is going to change this. The only way to really get our point across, and the only way if we really demand it, and like I said, we got to demand new stuff. If we get the new stuff, I guarantee that if you get the right director to do these old stuff and the remakes and Star Wars, I guarantee that will fix a lot of the problems, because you won't have, I think, directors that have been around that have already shown what they're about. Give them a chance to make this work. Like, I'll give you an example. If Quentin Tarantino, who's supposed to direct a Star Trek movie, if he makes the best Star Trek movie we've ever seen, that will prove what I'm talking about. Snoke Spinal Tap says Star Wars is Star Wars and Disney Wars is Disney is and Star Wars is Disney with Star Wars. No, I know what you mean. There is a distinction between the two, but Disney Star Wars isn't exactly. It's really not even Star Wars. It's just like a walking corpse. It's a walking corpse animated by people who are just, want to do their own puppetry. You understand? It's not real. It's just this walking, it's like a puppet that looks like Star Wars, and it's being manipulated by people who aren't interested in Star Wars. They're interested in what they want, and they have a right to be interested in what they want. But what I'm saying is guys like Tarantino, who's done everything he wants to do. He's filmed his own movies. He's made his own stamp on the universe, in creativity. He's made his stamp many times. He's not looking for a creative outlet for himself anymore. So if you give a director like Tarantino a chance to make a Star Wars movie, then maybe he will look at the Star Wars that he grew up with, that he wanted to make, and give it proper respect. You see, because he doesn't have to use this as a bridge for people to, to for as a resume. He doesn't need this for his resume. He's got a long established career. People like Rian Johnson need to use this movie as a resume. He only has Looper. That's pretty much it. Other directors who are just starting have to toe the line because they don't have a long resume. So they got to do what they have to do just so that they can, get their name out there. But instead of giving people a chance to make their own stuff, they're not allowing that. So these people only creative outlet is through manipulating our stuff. It's going, well, I'm not going to get a chance to show my vision. So they only allowed me to film, let's just say Goonies. They want me to film Goonies. And because I don't really care about Goonies growing up, I don't care about Goonies growing up. I watched the movie once. I don't even remember. I was young. I don't remember. I'm not saying me personally. This is just me talking as that director. Okay. I've watched Goonies 1,000 times. So I'm going to watch it again to see what it is, but I don't really understand what made it popular. But I have all these ideas that I have in my mind, and I'm going to take the Goonies and I'm going to mold the Goonies and the characters and all the stuff in the Goonies so that it fits the narrative that I want to tell. Because I have to show what I'm about. It's about my expression. And so now the Goonies no longer is about the Goonies. It's no longer boys. It's all girls because they're an agenda that they want to portray maybe. And so their agenda has to put instead of all boys, it's mostly girls. And we're going to change that. And we're going to change it's insensitive to people who have issues. So it's like, instead of that guy, hey, you guys, we'll make him into we'll make him into a bear or something like, you know what I mean? Because he wants to tell his story, his narrative, or whatever the hell he's into. And right now, of course, because the number one thing in the atmosphere is, politics, gender politics and stuff. That's what you're seeing more, infused in these movies. I think with Quentin Tarantino, Gary Harrison said Quentin. I can't imagine what he would do with the lightsaber and a human body. Someone needs to remind Quentin. See, that's the thing about it. If he ever got to do Tarantino ever got to do a Star Wars movie, I think Disney would be like, "You understand? Kids are watching this, right? You're not going to bifurcate anybody. You're not going to see gut and blood spew all over the place. Although if he was left unchecked, that would be interesting. It definitely would be interesting. But I'm like I said, I'm very curious because sometimes people are inspired by things, and I think that you want an older director who might be inspired by something to take this on. I didn't dislike the idea of Ron Howard directing Solo, but from the scratch. And I don't know how much of what went on with Ron Howard and what he had to retcon or what he had to change, if he had it from the beginning. I don't know. But Kathleen Kennedy just infusing her politics into everything doesn't help. Obviously, that's the biggest problem going right now. Kathleen Kennedy needs to sort of fly away, go into your little coven and fly into your coven and, talk smack about boys there. But let everybody get along out here, Anyway, guys, that's pretty much all I have to say about all this. Going forward on my final conclusion in this situation, all I got to say is apathy. Apathy. That's the running theme of what I'm trying to say is we can't show anger. Anger will be used and manipulated and twisted into hate. Hate leads to anger, and anger leads to Twitter problems, and Twitter anger leads to calling us all racist and sexist. When we get angry and we vocalize ourselves in a way that's obviously angry, they manipulate that and they twist it to make us look like bigoted people. We gotta prevent ourselves from falling into that trap. We have to look towards apathy because they want us to get angry. They feed anger. They actually almost they taunt us. And I believe, like, You don't think Ryan Johnson taunting people is to create more controversy? His name is being talked about, guys. So look. Brie Larson has so much unearned press because of all this anger and rage about her. And that's just feeding her career. That's feeding her career. Apathy, just yawn. And that's what we need to do. These movies that they're amping up and they're building up and they're trying to get us to go see, we have to sort of just say, I think I'll go play some video games, read a book, do something else, because I just don't care anymore. And that's really what we have to. We got to get in that sense. You got to get in that place where we're not angry about it, where we just don't care. And we're almost there. I think that's going to happen just naturally. Personally, I do. That's my sort of prediction, is that it's going to kill itself. We just apathetic towards everything. We're just like, whatever. I don't care if it's bad, if it's good. I just don't trust anything anymore. So whatever, I don't care. Because that's the only thing that's going to change. Anger won't change it, because they'll manipulate that and they'll use it to create publicity. And there's a lot of and just consistently talking about every little bullet point that somebody says or things have said is, again, it's just not, every time somebody farts in a different direction, we have to talk about it. Ryan Johnson farted on Twitter. Let's talk about this. This is I will just let him go. Like, let the little birdie fly away. Go, Ryan Johnson, fly away. Go. Stop pretending irrelevant, because we don't care about you. And everything he does, we get all riled up about. And he loves it. He's sitting there going, loving it, loving the attention. Brie Larson's loving the attention. All the haters, you're just haters. If we just yawned at her and just said, whatever, just fly away. I'm tired of you. And then I think we get a better response, because I don't think that people with these corporations, or not corporations, but the production companies and these people who make money off of all of this, and that's they write articles to get the response. They have people write articles to get responses. And so when you have people reading every single article that comes out, this guy said this about Captain Marvel. This guy wrote this about The Last Jedi. Oh, this guy said there wasn't enough LGBTQ representation in this movie. And then we focus on that, because that's what we do as YouTubers. We just start, we read the articles, and then we put the the title, which is that everybody sees. It's like the Gillette stuff. They got what they wanted. They won. They didn't even have to make the damn commercial. All they had to do was create the anger surrounding the commercial, and they won, because we sat there like a bunch of fools going, we're so angry about something that hasn't been done yet, because they didn't actually release it. I don't remember seeing one commercial on television that had it. All we did was talk about what they were going to do online, and it was a little thing, and that's all they really had to do to get their way. Anyway, enough of all that, guys. Thanks for watching. I'm going to head out. Thank you, everyone, for checking me out. Guys, these are some channels I want you guys to subscribe to and check them out. Snoke Spinal Tap, Toriel G. She just changed her name back. Good for her. Who else was there? I think Death by Saber was here. Check out a bunch of those guys. And other than that, let me know what you guys think. Are you guys looking forward to this stuff? Do you guys agree with me? Apathy. I think apathy is the recipe for actual winning this war. Anger won't do it. Apathy does it. Anyway, guys, so I'll talk to you guys later, and thanks for coming aboard. And once again, R.I.P. Peter Mayhew and Chewbacca. Just do that as my little tribute.